He who wants to be rich, come and see. Your breakthrough is waiting, just believe. I know what you seek, I know your pain. Funmilayo couldn't help herself. She laughed. See this one, claiming to offer riches and blessings, look at him. His shoe never even get lace. They all laughed, loud, almost painfully. But then the man stopped, turned, and stared at them. The laughter died immediately. He walked up to them. His eyes were yellowed and deep like wells that had seen centuries of sadness. You laugh, he said. He pointed. You, Olumide, the one who designs dreams he'll never live in. Olumide's heart jumped. Wetin you talk? The man turned to Funmi. You, Funmilayo, sewing broken seams just to stay afloat, always carrying people, but no one ever carries you. Funmi's lips parted, but no words came. He turned to Dayo. And you, Dayo, dancing in clubs to forget the silence in your heart. The three stared at him, stunned. How you take know us? Dayo asked. The man gave a small smile. It didn't reach his eyes. I have the key to the life you desire, he said. But not now. If you want it, truly want it, come find me, 4 nights from now, before the sun sets. He dropped a tiny paper into Funmi's lap. It had nothing on it, just a symbol, a strange one, like a closed eye with a dot above it. Then he walked away. Gone, just like that. Olumide looked at the others. This one done high. Funmi folded the paper. Maybe, Dayo scoffed. A beg. He's one of those scam prophets. But none of them slept peacefully that night.
Well, well. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, you need to subscribe.
The sound of a generator coughed in the distance, struggling against the heat of a Saturday afternoon. The air was thick with the stench of gutter water, fried akara, and dreams that had nowhere else to go. In the heart of Arjugun, where zinc roofs shimmered and hope slept on concrete floors, 3 souls lived under one roof, not by blood, but by bond. Olumide sat cross-legged on a threadbare mattress, eyes locked to a cracked laptop screen. The electricity was out again, but that didn't stop him. His fingers moved quickly across the keyboard, dragging shapes and lines into place. Logos, flyers, mock-ups, dreams for other people, never himself. His phone buzzed. He checked it, sighed. Another client ghosted. In the next room, Funmilayo was pressing clothes. The scent of starch and thrift store perfume filled the air. She sold Okrika second-hand clothing from Balogun Market and had a way of making them look brand new. But lately, business had been slow, too many mouths chasing too few buyers. Dayo, the youngest, walked in just then, headphones slung around his neck. He tossed his backpack on the floor and collapsed onto the bench outside their compound. No show again? Olumide asked. Dayo shrugged. Client said they'll call back. You know the usual lie. Told me, we go run, am next week. Funmi chuckled as she stepped outside to join them, fanning herself with a magazine. Na so dem de do. Me, I de hustle to pay Mamachi Dinma for the last bale I bought. And see now rain go soon fall again, my clothes still day outside. For a moment, silence fell between them. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that came when you were too tired to hope and too broke to dream. Olumide leaned back and muttered, Sometimes I wonder if we will ever make it. Like, all this struggle, all this day manage, when he go pay off. Maybe if we were born in Lekki, Funmi said with a dry laugh. Dayo reached into his bag, pulled out a cold sachet of water, and took a sip. Or maybe if we had parents who left us something, even if it was a small plot of land. That name. Parents. They all went quiet. They never really talked about it. All 3 were orphans, different stories, same pain, different losses, same result hustling through life without a safety net. Olumide's father was a sign painter, not a designer, not a digital artist, just a man with brushes, ladders, and paint-stained palms. He used to paint the names of shops on wooden boards across the market. Mama Ifioma Foods, Chukwudi Electronics, Destiny Hair Empire. Olumide used to stand beside him, handing over colors, watching as rough wood turned into clean lines and beauty. One evening, as the sun sank low behind the buildings, his father gave him a piece of chalk. "Draw your own name," he said. That night, on a broken wall by their street, Myde wrote it, Myde, greatness in progress. He was 10. His father died 3 weeks later from untreated malaria. The hospital said they didn't have beds. His mother followed 2 years after, worn down from struggling to survive. Myde never picked up a brush again. Only a mouse. Funmilayo's mother was a tailor. She had one machine in a small room. Too many customers who wanted their clothes sharp. She worked until her fingers bled, her back curved from hours of bending over fabric. Funmilayo would sit under the table, sorting buttons and thread. Her mother smelled like steam and lavender oil. She never complained, but her body broke slowly. One night, Funmi woke up, and everything was quiet. No sewing, no humming. She found her mother slumped over the machine, head on the fabric she was stitching. She was 14 when she buried her. Her father, she never knew him. Dayo's father was a preacher, but not the kind who stood in churches. He was the kind who preached at bus stops, shouting verses while people ignored him. But every night, when he got home, he played music, jazz, old Fuji, James Brown, Bob Marley. The man had a broken stereo and a heart full of rhythm. He taught Dayo how to listen, not just to hear, but listen. Dayo's mother died during childbirth with Dayo's younger sister. This was when everything collapsed. His father fell into depression, stopped preaching, stopped playing. One morning, he walked out and never came back. Myde was the first to speak again. "I'd tired, real tired." As if on cue, a strange man walked by. Grey beard, oversized coat, and a tattered brown bag slung over his shoulder. He moved slowly, but his voice was loud and strange, like a street preacher or mad prophet. "He who wants to be rich, come and see. Your breakthrough is waiting, just believe. I know what you seek, I know your pain." Funmilayo couldn't help herself. She laughed. "See this one, claiming to offer riches and blessings, look at him. His shoe never even get lace." They all laughed, loud, almost painfully. But then the man stopped, turned, and stared at them. The laughter died immediately. He walked up to them. His eyes were yellowed and deep like wells that had seen centuries of sadness. "You laugh," he said. He pointed. "You, Myde, the one who designs dreams he'll never live in." Olumide's heart jumped. "Wetin you talk?" The man turned to Funmi. "You, Funmilayo, sewing broken seams just to stay afloat, always carrying people, but no one ever carries you." Funmi's lips parted, but no words came. He turned to Dayo. "And you, Dayo, dancing in clubs to forget the silence in your heart." The three stared at him, stunned. How you take know us?" Dayo asked. The man gave a small smile. It didn't reach his eyes. "I have the key to the life you desire," he said. "But not now. If you want it, truly want it, come find me, 4 nights from now, before the sun sets." He dropped a tiny paper into Funmi's lap. It had nothing on it, just a symbol, a strange one, like a closed eye with a dot above it. Then he walked away. Gone, just like that. Olumide looked at the others. "This one done high." Funmi folded the paper. "Maybe," Dayo scoffed. "A beg. He is one of those scam prophets." But none of them slept peacefully that night, and none of them could forget the way he stared at them. The paper stayed hidden for 3 days. Funmilayo folded it carefully and tucked it beneath her mattress, unsure whether to treat it as trash or a sign. No one brought it up again, not Olumide, not Dayo, not even her. It was easier to laugh about it in public and forget it in private. But the silence around it was heavy. By Tuesday, life had gone back to its usual routine. Olumide worked day and night on a branding project for a bakery in Ibadan that kept changing its logo idea. Dayo was chasing a possible gig at a rooftop bar on the island, hoping this one wouldn't be one of those "we will pay you with exposure" kind of gigs. And Funmi was still walking around town, carrying bales of second-hand clothes on her head like she didn't have 2 swollen feet and a strained back. It was as if nothing had changed, yet everything had. That evening, just before sunset, the sky turned a shade darker than usual. It wasn't quite rain, just a kind of gloom that made the shadows stretch longer. Funmilayo stood by the kitchen, stirring a pot of rice, when she spoke without turning around. "Do either of you remember what that man said?" Dio looked up from his phone, confused. "Which man?" She turned to face him, wiping her hands with a faded cloth. "The one who met us 4 nights ago." Olumide, who had been sketching something on his sketch pad, he paused. "You're still thinking about that?" Funmi nodded. "It's been bothering me. He knew too much. About us, about our lives. I thought maybe it was a trick or coincidence, but it didn't feel like either." Dio exhaled deeply, then stood. "Funmi, come on. This is Lagos. People pull stunts like that every day. Anyone can guess a few sad details and sound spiritual." "But what if he was right?" she said, her voice firm now. "What if he really does hold some kind of key?" Olumide leaned back in his chair. "And if he does, what then? Are we seriously considering meeting up with a stranger who handed us a paper with a cult symbol on it?" "He said to come before sunset," Funmi whispered, "and today is the 4th day." They all went quiet. The clock on the wall ticked. 5:32 p.m. Dio looked at Olumide. "It doesn't have to mean anything. We just go, see what it's about. If it's trash, we walk away." Olumide didn't answer immediately. They had been in this apartment for almost 4 years. Nothing had improved, just living from hand to mouth. Maybe it was foolish. Maybe it was dangerous. But wasn't desperation always the door that opened into the unknown? "Fine," he said. "Let's go." They reached the location at 6:01 p.m. It was a deserted compound, the kind of place that used to be a house but had long since surrendered itself to decay. Rusted gates hung from loose hinges. Trees grew wild, bending over the roof like watchers. And there, in the center of the open yard, was the man. He sat on a broken stool. His eyes were closed, his head tilted slightly upward, as if he could hear the sun breathing. He opened them just as they stepped forward. "You came," he said simply. No smile, no surprise. Olumide folded his arms. "We want to hear what this is really about." The man nodded, reached into the satchel beside him, and brought out a small wooden box. He opened it slowly. Inside were 3 glowing petals, soft and radiant, almost unreal. Each one shimmered like it had been kissed by light. "This," he said, "is the answer to your hunger. Not food, not fame, but fulfillment." He held the box closer. "Each of you must take one. Eat it. Let it dissolve on your tongue. Do not share. Do not spit it out. And most importantly, from this day on, you must stay together and never break the bond between you." Dio stepped back. "What is it? What's in it?" "It is a gift," the man said. "And like all true gifts, it comes with a price. If any of you breaks the bond, if pride or ego or betrayal separates you, your blessing will turn into your curse." Funmilayo looked at Olumide, then at Dio. The man extended the box. No one moved. Then Olumide stepped forward, took a petal, held it in his hand for a moment, and ate it. It tasted like nothing, but it burned like fire down his throat, a quiet heat that settled in his chest and refused to leave. Funmi followed next. Then Dio. The moment Dio swallowed, the man closed the box and stepped back. Silence. The wind shifted. From the satchel at his side, the man pulled out a small clay pot, no larger than a calabash cup. Inside it was a single flower, white, with soft gold edges and an odd glow at its center. It pulsed gently, like it was breathing. He handed it to Funmilayo. "This is your bond," he said, voice low now, almost reverent. "This flower will mirror your hearts." They stared at it, confused, curious. He continued, "As long as you stay true to each other, no envy, no betrayal, no division, this flower will continue to bloom. It will remain full, vibrant, and alive." He turned to Olumide. "But the moment bitterness creeps in, when pride replaces unity, the petals will fade, one by one." He faced Dio now. "And when the final petal falls, your time runs out." The flower shimmered again, then stilled. "Keep it where all of you can see it. Let it remind you daily that what you have is not ordinary." Olumide held it up to the light. It was beautiful and yet, somehow, terrifying. "Wait," Funmi said. "What happens if it dies?" The man's eyes darkened. "Then so will everything you've built." With that, he turned and began walking into the shadows. "You won't see me again," he said over his shoulder. "Not unless you call me in the hour of your collapse." Then he was gone, swallowed by the dusk. They stood in silence for a long time, the flower between them glowing faintly in Funmi's hands. Dio finally muttered, "Well, that was weird." Olumide woke up before his alarm. No light, no fan, no noise, but something felt different. He sat up slowly. His phone buzzed beside him, a message from an old client who'd ignored him for months. "Hi, we're ready to move forward with your 250K package. When can we start?" He stared at the screen, blinked twice. Then came another message, this time from a new brand in Ghana. "Heard about your work. Can you send samples?" He checked his account. A 50K deposit had landed overnight. He hadn't done anything yet. Funmi stood at her small stall, folding clothes and calculating how much she had left for food. Her chest was tight. Rent was due next week. Then, just as she reached for her phone to call her supplier, a woman approached. "You're the girl that sells quality thrift, right?" Funmi nodded. "I want to buy in bulk. Can you supply 50 pieces every week? I'm opening a boutique in Abuja. I'll pay up front." She thought it was a joke until the woman transferred 200,000 without blinking. Deo, on the other hand, arrived at a lounge where he had begged to perform for free weeks ago. The manager ran to him. "Guy, you blew up, oh. That video from last week hit over 300K views. My phone no day rest." Deo froze. "What video?" "Your freestyle video. Someone uploaded it. Celebs they comment. People they ask for your rate." A guy at the corner offered him a drink. "You charge how much per night?" the guy asked. "Let's book you for Friday and Saturday." That night, all three sat at their bench again, the same one from 4 nights ago. There was no laughter, no mocking, just stunned silence. "We're not crazy," Funmilayo finally said. Olumide nodded. "Something's happening." Funmi hesitated, then whispered, "Do you think that man did something to us?" No one answered, but they all knew the truth. It wasn't hard work. It wasn't coincidence. It was the petal, and it had begun to bloom. 3 months passed like a dream. What once felt impossible had now become their new normal. But even as success knocked gently on their door, something else watched from the corner of the room. The flower. It sat by the window in the living room in the same clay pot the man had given them. Soft white petals, golden edges, a steady, breathing glow. Every morning, Funmilayo checked it. Every evening, she watered it with quiet reverence. So far, it was still blooming, still beautiful, still alive. But none of them noticed that the glow had dimmed. Just a little. Olumide. He redesigned the identity of a luxury spa in Lekki, a job that paid more than his total income from the last 2 years combined. He was invited to speak at a virtual branding conference for African creatives. His follower count doubled. He got verified. His phone rang constantly, clients, collaborators, agencies, partnerships. One wanted to fly him to Nairobi for a product launch. He no longer worked from the mattress on the floor. He had a desk now, a ring light, a branded mug. But more importantly, he had options. Funmi opened a second stall in Yaba, bought herself a mannequin, bought her mother's old sewing machine back from the cousin who borrowed it and never returned it. Her clothes sold fast. Women lined up every Saturday to grab whatever she had posted on Instagram. She hired a young girl from her street to help her sort and clean clothes, paid her 15,000 monthly. It felt good being able to help someone else. She called her stall Funmi's Theft. Dio's video didn't just go viral. It caught the attention of a media company in Accra, Ghana. They flew him out for a 3-night DJ set and paid him in dollars. He bought new speakers, new headphones. His Instagram was full of reels, fans dancing, girls screaming his name. He even got interviewed on a local podcast titled From Ghetto to Global, and he finally fixed his teeth a small insecurity that had hunted him for years. His voice had changed, his clothes had changed. And when he walked into a club now, people shouted. They still lived in the same apartment, still ate together sometimes, still laughed occasionally. But slowly, something had started to shift. Olumide began leaving the compound before sunrise. Sometimes he didn't come back until the next day. Dio had a new manager and started talking like he'd made it. Always on the phone, always in a rush. Funmi tried to keep them grounded, still cooked for everyone, still suggested group prayers and planning meetings. But the conversations got shorter as everyone got busy. One night, after she made jollof rice and none of them showed up to eat, she packed the food and gave it to her neighbor's children. In the quiet of that same week, Funmilayo had a dream. She stood in a burning field as smoke wrapped around the area. She saw Dio on one side being pulled by an invisible force. She saw Olumide on the other being pulled by an invisible force into the opposite direction. She screamed and held out both hands to grab them, but the more she pulled, the stronger the pull was. Then the fire reached the center. Flowers around them began to burn bright and golden, then burned to ash. She woke up gasping, sweat dripping from her neck. The next morning, she called them both into the living room. They came, reluctantly. She pointed at the flower. "One of the petals is gone. I had a dream again." Olumide shrugged. "Dreams are just stress." Dio rubbed his eyes. "You worry too much." Funmi looked at both of them, heartbreaking. "He warned us. That flower was a sign, and we're letting it die." But neither of them stayed long enough to listen. "You both remember what that man said, right?" Olumide waved her off. "We're doing better now. That man was just part of the story that got us here. That's all. Whatever he gave us that day can't be the reason our lives turned around." But even Funmilayo could feel it in her bones. This wasn't just success. It was a test, and they were starting to fail. It started with a DM. "Hi, Olumide. I saw your work on the Asarok skincare rebrand. Very impressive. I'm launching a lifestyle company and would love a logo that reflects strength and femininity. Are you open to a commission?" She signed the message. Jane A. Vertical Bar founder, Rive Wellness. Olumide almost ignored it. He had too many pending requests, but something about her tone felt polished, intentional, sharp. "So," he replied. The first Zoom meeting was brief. She had almond skin, piercing eyes, and spoke like someone who had already won every argument before it began. "My brand isn't just about wellness. It's about awakening. I want every woman who sees our logo to feel like she's staring at her future." Olumide liked her immediately, not in the usual romantic way. There was something magnetic about her presence. The way she understood aesthetics, language, how she made him feel like he wasn't just designing logos, but building legacies. Over the next 2 weeks, they worked closely. Voice notes, late-night edits, brainstorming sessions. She sent him a D500K upfront payment without negotiation, then gifted him a smartwatch, then a copy of a book titled "The Future Belongs to the Audacious." By the 3rd week, she said, "I'll be in Lagos next weekend. Let's meet. I'd like to take you out to thank you in person." Olumide agreed. Their first meeting. They met at a rooftop cafe in Victoria Island. Jane wore black, simple, elegant, but powerful. She didn't talk about the logo. She asked about him, his journey, his dreams. Then, without warning, she leaned in and said, "Why are you still living in Arjugun?" Olumide blinked. "It's home. I live with friends." She tilted her head slightly. "But you're bigger than that now." Silence. Then she smiled. "I'm not judging. I just think greatness demands new rooms." That night, Olumide got home around midnight. Funmilayo was already asleep. Dio was out of town for a show. For the first time, the apartment felt small to him, crowded, noisy in a quiet way. The next morning, he called an agent to ask about a short-let studio space, just to explore options. Jane didn't push too hard. She just kept appearing. One day, she sent him a gift basket. Another day, she asked if he'd consider being her brand's creative director on retainer for 1.5 million naira. He was tempted, deeply, but it came with conditions. Full availability. Work from her Lekki office 3x weekly. Relocate for faster execution. When he told Funmi, she paused. You want to move out? She asked. Just testing the waters, he said. But, the man said. Olumide sighed. Funmi, let's be real. We're not cursed. We're just finally becoming who we were meant to be. Dio didn't like Jane from the moment he met her. They crossed paths at a private birthday party in Ikoyi, a last-minute gig Jane invited Olumide to, and Olumide dragged Dio along. She smiled at Dio, but it didn't reach her eyes. She asked him no questions, barely acknowledged his set. Later that night, she told Olumide, "Your friend seems insecure. Watch that." Olumide laughed. But then, he started noticing it too. Dio being defensive. Overreacting. Always bringing up how things used to be. Funmi began to grow uncomfortable. She told Olumide she didn't trust Jane, that she felt something off, like the woman was wearing a mask. But when she brought it up a third time, Olumide snapped. "You've been acting like my mother lately. I'm not a child." Funmi didn't respond. She just walked back into her room, quietly shut the door. They were no longer the same three who shared meals and dreams and floor space. They were rising, yes. The bond was fraying. It started with a gig. Jane invited Olumide to work on a branding rollout for a high-profile event, a wellness conference that would feature celebrity influencers, sponsors, press, and a large crowd. She suggested Dio handle the music. Said it with a soft smile and the voice of a generous queen. "You mentioned he's a DJ. Let's support his hustle too." Olumide was surprised and impressed. Dio was skeptical. She didn't even say hi the first time we met. Now she wants to help? Still, he accepted. A 200,000 one-night gig was hard to ignore. The event was lush, the kind that smelled like perfume and money. People took photos beside flower walls and greeted each other like they were all verified. Olumide's branding designs were everywhere: billboards, menu cards, digital slides. Jane made sure everyone knew who he was. "He's the genius behind the entire concept," she said proudly. But when it was time for payment, something odd happened. Dio was told the client hadn't budgeted for entertainment after all. Jane acted surprised. "That's so unprofessional. Don't worry, Olumide will sort you out." Dio looked at her, then at Olumide. Olumide looked uncomfortable. "Let me talk to them. I'll fix it." But 2 days passed. No money, no apology. When Dio asked again, Olumide replied, "Bro, why are you acting like I owe you? This was her gig. You should take it up with her." That night, Dio drank half a bottle of gin and blasted his speakers till the neighbors banged on the door. Funmi found him sitting on the floor, staring at nothing. "I feel used," he said. "By them, by her, even by him." Funmi, tired of playing peacemaker, whispered, "I don't think she's who she claims to be." The message that changed everything. A week later, Funmilayo received a call from a friend who attended the wellness event. "I didn't know you and Dio were having issues." Funmi blinked. "We're not." "Oh." Just surprised Olumide would let his girl say those things. "Which girl?" "Jane. She said you and Dio used to hold him back, that he carried the both of you." Funmilayo hung up without replying. Her chest burned. She opened her notes app, typed, deleted, typed again. Eventually, she sent a short text to Olumide. "Tell your woman to keep our names out of her mouth. We were with you when you had nothing. Don't forget that." She expected a call or an apology. Instead, Olumide replied, "You've always been dramatic, Funmi. That's your problem. Not everything is an attack." That was the last time they spoke for 3 weeks. Jane's final seed. One evening, Jane and Olumide sat in her Lekki apartment. A candle flickered between them. The wine was sweet, soft music played. She asked, "Do you ever feel like your friends are slowing you down?" Olumide said nothing. Jane leaned in, whispered, "You deserve to breathe where you're not constantly explaining your worth." That night, Olumide searched for apartments online. 2 bedrooms, high-rise, island view. He didn't tell Funmi. He didn't tell Dio. They had broken no rules. No one had shouted. No one had fought. No one had slammed doors. but the flower was already withering, and none of them had noticed that its petals were starting to fall. Rain fell without warning that Friday evening. Loud, angry drops slapped the rooftops, flooding the gutters and sending the neighborhood kids running indoors. Inside their apartment, silence reigned. Deo sat on the edge of his bed, phone in hand, staring at an Instagram story. Olumide, a rooftop dinner. Lecky lights in the background. Jane across the table, sipping wine and laughing. Caption, creating with peace around me. No distractions. No distractions. Deo threw the phone across the room. Funmi had been holding it all in. The shade, the silence, the tension, watching her boys become strangers in real time. Dio was angry at everyone. Olumide was detached. And Jane was winning. She wanted to scream. Instead, she sent a group message. Let's meet tomorrow, talk like we used to, no drama, just honesty, please. Only Deo replied, if he shows, I'll show. They met in the living room the next day. No jokes, no shared drinks, no music. Just 3 people and a wound none of them wanted to clean. Funmilayo started. Let's not pretend. Things have changed. We're not even friends anymore. Olumide sighed. Funmi, everything changes. That's life. So we outgrow people now, Deo snapped. Or just the ones who knew you when you were broke. Olumide turned to him, irritated. Here we go again. You let that woman come into our circle and tear it apart. Funmi cut in. She poisoned you. Olumide stood. I'm tired of this narrative. Jane didn't do anything you two didn't already start. You were always jealous, always trying to control everything. Dio stood too. You think you made it? You think the world belongs to you because you got a few contracts and a girl with wine breath? Olumide laughed bitterly. At least I'm not a struggling DJ begging for relevance. Funmi's voice cracked. Stop, all of you. This is exactly what we were warned about. But it was too late. The words had been said. The bond, fractured for months, finally snapped. Deo walked out first. Funmi broke down and wept. Olumide just stared at the wall. By midnight, Olumide had packed his things. That night, it rained harder than the sky could carry. Somewhere in the dark, a single golden petal dropped onto the earth. She was walking through a hallway, mirrors on both sides. In every reflection, she was alone in silence. Then she heard it, the voice, low, ancient, echoing from every wall. You broke it. You forgot. Now watch what comes next. And she woke up. The morning after the fight, the city felt different. Still noisy, still chaotic. But for the 3 of them, the world had grown colder. None of them spoke again. No texts, no calls, just silence. The bond was broken, and the curse had begun. It had once glowed. Soft white petals, gold-tipped edges, a breath-like shimmer. Now it sat in the corner of the living room, untouched, abandoned. 4 petals were gone. The 5th was beginning to curl. The glow had faded completely now. It looked like any dying houseplant, robbed of sunlight and purpose. But no one was around to notice. It started with a knock. 2 men in plain clothes showed up at the lounge where Olumide relaxing for his Friday night set. They flashed badges, EFCC. You're under investigation for fraud and money laundering. Olumide laughed, confused, until they showed him screenshots. Transfers, chats, event flyers all connected to the wellness event Jane had hosted. Apparently, her company was under scrutiny for being a shell used to wash stolen funds, and Olumide company name popped up as a vendor. He was handcuffed, hauled into a van. His phones were seized, his laptop taken. No one came to bail him. He called Dio. No answer. He called Funmilayo. Her line was off. So he sat in a cell, alone. She was heading to her shop when she saw the smoke. People were gathered, pointing, screaming. Her stall, her entire setup was on fire. The police claimed it was an electrical spark. But Funmi knew better. She had unplugged everything before leaving the night before. And then, fire. Her supplier pulled out of their deal. Customers stopped calling. Someone even accused her of selling cursed clothes. She went home, shut the door, and cried until she couldn't breathe. It didn't happen all at once. Jane still smiled, still slept over, still praised his work. But the deals started falling through. An international brand cancelled last minute. A client claimed his designs were plagiarized. His portfolio was taken down on Behance. Then the email. Dear Olumide, we regret to inform you that due to a pending legal concern involving Reve Wellness, we will be withdrawing your position and terminating all upcoming projects. He rushed to Jane's office. Locked, stripped bare, like it never existed. He tried calling her. Number not reachable. He checked her Instagram. Gone. Her apartment? Vacant. The landlord said that the flat's been empty for almost a year. Olumide staggered backward, phone trembling in his hand. The man returned. He stood beneath a tree with no leaves. In his hand, 3 blackened petals. You broke the bond. You spat on the gift. Now, each of you will lose what you once begged for. Funmi begged, please, let us fix it. Take it back. Give us a second chance. The man looked up slowly. Second chances don't come from me. They come from sacrifice. She woke up. On her pillow was a real petal. Dry, dark, and cracked down the middle. They had been given a miracle and treated it like a phase. Now the storm had arrived. And it wasn't done yet.
Well, well. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, you need to subscribe